השם נעשה ונצליח. Shalom and welcome again to one more Shiur in our series Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, where we stroll down, as we usually say, down the path and the life of the various Tanaim, the various Chachamim, the eyes and the lights of our Jewish nation. And today we would like to go on a special journey in the life of a very special Tana. His name is Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. Rabbi Chanina, the son of Tradyon, and he is very special on many levels. As we say sometimes throughout the Shiur, we also get to see who was that Tana, not only in his life, in his daily life in Avodat Hashem, but rather also even in the time of death, where the last few moments of a person on earth can a lot of times tell a lot about who he was throughout his entire lifespan on this planet. So without any further ado, we're going to start the Shiur about Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. We will mention again the klal, the rule that we have about the Pirkei Avot, hu haya omer, even though it doesn't say over here on this particular Mishnah hu haya omer, but it says Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion omer, beside the word hu haya omer. Nevertheless, we do have the klal, the rule that hu haya omer, what he was. What he was, that's what he used to say. So now we want to see how the Mishnah of Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, as it's being presented here in Ethics of the Fathers by Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, symbolizes and encapsulates the life of Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. It's on Perek Gimel, the third chapter, and it's actually not a Mishnah by itself, but rather a part of Mishnah Bet, the second one, in the third chapter. We will say it as usual once in Hebrew, and then we'll translate. It's relatively a long Mishnah. Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion אומר, שניים שיושבים ואין ביניהם דברי תורה, הרי זה מושב ליצים, שנאמר, ובמושב ליצים לא ישב. אבל שניים שיושבים ויש ביניהם דברי תורה, שכינה שרויה ביניהם, שנאמר, אז נדברו יראי השם איש אל רעהו, ויקשב השם וישמע, ויכתב ספר זיכרון לפניו, ליראי השם ולחושבי שמו. אין לי אלא שניים, מניין אפילו אחד שיושב ועוסק בתורה, שהקדוש ברוך הוא קובע לו שכר, שנאמר ישב בדד וידום כי נטל עליו. In English, Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion says, when two people sit together and no words of Torah are exchanged between them, it is a company of scoffers. As it is stated, he brings a proof, a support to his thesis. He does not sit in the company of scoffers. This is a pasuk in the Ubemoshav Leitzim Lo Yashav. It's a verse in the first chapter of Tehillim. But when two people sit together and words of Torah are exchanged between them, the divine presence rests among them. As it is stated, then the God-fearing conversed with one another, and God listened and heard. And in his presence, a book of remembrance was written for those who fear God and think about his name. Now, the Mishnah deduced from it This verse only refers to two people who sitting between them, and either they say Divrei Torah or they don't exchange words of Torah. How do I know? What about the one, the individual? He says this verse only refers to two people. From where do we learn that even when one person sits and occupies himself with Torah study, the Holy One, blessed be He, designate a reward for him? He brings for that answer, since it is stated, he sits alone and studies in hushed tones. He meditates silently. Indeed, he receives that which was set for him. That means, even if a person sits all by himself and he learns, he doesn't have a chavruta, he doesn't have a study partner for today. Nevertheless, Hashem gives him sachar, and he brings a verse to prove his Mishnah. As we said, today's center of attention of our Shiur is Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, by the way, it's not by the way, it's going to be a major portion of our Shiur today, died in a very tragic way. He's one of the 10 martyrs. We had a couple of shurim about them, Rabbi Akiva, but he was one of them who died al Kiddush Hashem. He died also in a horrific, painful way by the hands of the Roman regime. A little family history. His daughter is the famous Bruria. Bruria is the wife of Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. You probably recall that we have mentioned Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes in the Shiur of Elisha ben Avuya some time ago. But now you can see this is a very respected family, Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. However, due to reasons known only to the one above, he ended his life here on this planet in a very tragic, painful way, as we will see in the course of the Shiur today. And his one son that he had, the Gemara teaches that hu nitpas lelistut, he did not really follow the footsteps of his righteous father, and he became a thief. And he ended up dying in a very, very humiliating and undignified way. His daughter also ended up in a very, very undignified situation as a punishment by the hand of the Roman regime. So now that we know a little bit about Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, who is he, what is he, and a little bit of his family members, so let's try to get to know him a little bit better, and through that we will be able to understand later how this Mishnah that we have mentioned, from this tzaddik who speaks about the tremendous and lofty level of limud Torah study, resembled his life and even his death. We will turn our attention now to the Gemara in Masechet Avodah Zarah. It's in Daf, page 18. And this is how the story goes over there. Tanu Rabbanan. Our rabbis taught in a Braita, כשחלה Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, when Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma became ill. I think I mentioned once that usually when we say כשחלה, it means when he became ill just before his death. So when Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma became ill, and he was on his deathbed, so to speak, as we will see soon, he had a visitor, mitzvah of Bikur Cholim. Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion came to visit him. So he went to visit, and upon entering the room, אמר לו, who, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, says to Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, the visitor, Xanina achi, my brother, my dear brother Xanina, אי אתה יודע שאומה זו מן השמיים המליכוה? Do you not know that from heaven they have imposed as rulers over us this evil Roman nation, שהחריבה את ביתו, which has destroyed God's house, the temple, ושרפה את היכלו, burned his sanctuary, the holy and the holy of holy, והרגה את חסידיו, and killed his pious ones, ואיבדה את טוביו, and caused his nobles to perish, ועדיין היא קיימת. And nevertheless, this foreign regime still exists. ואני שמעתי עליך, and he says to him, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma says to Rabbi Chanina ben Tradion, ואני שמעתי עליך, and I've heard about you, שאתה יושב ועוסק בתורה, that you sit and engage in Torah study, but not by yourself. ומקהיל קהילות ברבים, and you convene gatherings in public to disseminate Torah, to distribute and to spread Torah all over. And not only that, when you do it, while you do it, וספר מונח לך בחיקך. And a Torah scroll, a Sefer Torah, probably not a very big one because it's uncomfortable, but a small one, מונח לך בחיקך, rests in your arms all the time. We will get to it in a minute because it deserves its own talk. What's the idea of someone sitting all the time with constantly with a Sefer Torah rests in his arms? But we'll continue. וספר מונח לך בחיקך, and a Torah scroll rests upon you, upon your lap. And he asks now, why do you endanger yourself so? You know that you're not allowed to. You do know, Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, my dear brother, says Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, you do know that the Roman regime gave out a decree. They gave out a decree that you're not allowed to learn Torah. And Vadai, especially not in public. How do you do so? Why do you do it, and how can you endanger yourself to such degree? Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion listens, אמר לו, and he answers, reply to him, מן השמיים ירחמו. From heaven they will have mercy on me. What an answer is that? And you'll see right away, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma refused to accept it. אמר לו, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma raised his voice and he says to Rabbi Chanina ben Tradion, אני אומר לך דברים של טעם. I'm saying to you something sensible, logic. ואתה אומר לי מן השמיים ירחמו? And you are telling me that from heaven they will have mercy on you? Well, what kind of answer is that? What am I saying and what are you answering me with? And he continued with a very, very, very strong line that it's hard to understand. But then again, we're talking about Tanaim over here, Tzadikei Elyon, righteous people. Tamea anim lo yisrefu otcha v'sefer Torah ba'esh. Exclaiming, says Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma to Rabbi Chanina ben Tradion, I would be amazed if they do not burn you and the Torah scroll in fire. And remember that I've mentioned over here, Tamea anim lo yisrefu otcha. I will be amazed if they do not burn you. We will talk about it soon, towards the conclusion. Because he says, I wonder if they're going to burn you with the Torah. What is that supposed to mean? What kind of an expression? I wonder if they will not burn you. As if it's no question. To me, it's a give in. For sure, that's what they're going to do. No. Sits Rabbi Chanina ben Tradion, hears such words from a friend who he came to visit, a sick friend, what would you do? Walk out of the room, get insulted, keep quiet, answer back? What would you do? Amar lo, unsure now of his actions, because he kind of like he shook a little bit his foundation, so to speak. Not really. Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion said to him, Rebbe. But when I say he shook his foundation, not in the belief and the justification for what he's doing, but rather if he's not about to lose his reward in the world to come, as you will see in a minute. אמר לו רבי חנינא בן תרדיון to רבי יוסי בן קיסמא, רבי, מה אני לחיי העולם הבא? Rebbi, how do I stand with regard to the world to come? Am I going to get anything? Can I make it up there? Says to him, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, klum maaseh bא לידך? Has any particularly challenging incident presented itself to you? Let's talk over here for a second. Who are those two individuals? Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma in his deathbed. Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, he's a visitor. Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma is the one who actually, the famous Mishnah, just so you know, to get a better understanding, this dialogue is taking place between who and who. I'd like to read for a minute a little bit from Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, so you understand who we're talking about. Who is the one who's preaching to Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion? Said Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, once I was walking along the road when a certain man accosted me. He greeted me and I returned his greetings. He inquired, Rebbe, from where do you come? I replied, I am from a great city of sages and scholars. Said he, Rebbe, if you would wish to live with us in our place, I would give you 1,000,000 golden dinars, precious stones and pearls. I responded, were you to give me all the silver, gold, precious stones and pearls in the world, I would live only in a place of Torah. Kind of strange. Where are you coming from? He tells them. I give him hello, he's returned, he greet him back, and he offers them, if you'd come live by us. I don't even know, I don't see that he told them where he's at. Now, if he's in a Makom of Torah, why wouldn't he move with him? If he's not a Makom of Torah, and this gentleman is offering Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma to move over and come live with them, obviously he says to him, I need you to come and spread Torah in our city, in our town. Why is he saying that if you give me all the silver and gold and precious stone and pearls, I will not going to live only in a place of Torah? For so it is written in the book of Tehillim by David, king of Israel. I prefer the Torah of your mouth over thousands in gold and silver. Moreover, at the time of a person's passing, he is accompanied not by gold, silver, precious stones or pearls, but by his accomplishments of Torah study and good deeds alone. As it says, as you walk, it will lead you. As you lie down, it will protect you. And when you awaken, it will converse with you. As you walk, it will lead you in this world. As you lie down, it will protect you in the grave. When you awaken, it will converse with you in the world to come. And it stated, the silver and the gold are mine, says God of hosts. No. Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, obviously, now that you see money, precious stones, pearls, gems, doesn't really play any role by him. He's not impressed. He is not impressed with money. You can give him whatever you want, make the best offer. He turned the offer down, he doesn't want to come. Now this Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, he's the one, and obviously why he doesn't want? Because this is a man who appreciates Torah, admire Torah study, and he holds real high standards in teaching Torah, conversing Torah, in life, in the world to come, in the grave, and while you roam this planet as well. Now that you understand who Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma is, let's go back into our story. So we have Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma on his deathbed, as they say, with one foot already in the other world, so to speak. He has a visitor, and he preached to the visitor, Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, why you study Torah, why you study Torah in public, and you convene gatherings of Torah study. Why do you do it with a scroll, Sefer Torah, resting in your lap, and in your arms on your lap? We just established that this is a man who no money in the world can buy him. Only Torah. Why is he preaching to Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion about Torah study? And now when Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion asked him, Rebbe, ma ani lechaye olam haba? He says to him, Rebbe, how do I stand with regard to the world to come? No, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma has his friend Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. He knows exactly who Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion is. Instead of telling him, oh, for sure, what a question. Somebody like you, of course you're going to make it to the world to come. You're going to have a nice golden chamber in heaven after 120. What does he say to him? What does he tell him in answer? Amar lo klum ma'aseh ba liyadcha. Has any particularly challenging incident presented itself to you, that because of that, in the merit of this, overcoming this particular challenge, you actually acquired the ticket to come into the world to come? That's what he's asking Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. If you're surprised by now hold on tight. Amar lo, Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion answered him, well, in regards to a challenging incident, one comes to mind right now. מעות של פורים נתחלפו לי במעות של צדקה. With general, why? He says once, by mistake, I had 2 bags of money. One was money privately mine, which I had reserved aside in order to buy myself the necessary food for Seudat Purim, and also to give to Aniyim for Seudat Purim. As it is the obligation, Matanot LaEvyonim, Seudat Purim, some of the mitzvot of Purim. In the other bag, he had what's called publicly collected charity funds. He was a Gabbai Tzedakah. Actually, when Chazal wants to bring an example of who is a true charity holder, a Gabbai Tzedakah, that he can collect and be in charge, and you can fully trust him and entrust him with the money in terms of distributing it to the proper people properly, and no money, what you call, gets robbed. You know, he doesn't have sticky fingers, as they say. Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion is the symbol of Gabbai Tzedakah Ne'eman, an entrusted man to be put with charity. So, he says to him one time, the bag of Purim, my own private money, and the bag of Tzedakah got mixed up. And by mistake, I gave the poor people, I once inadvertently switched my own Purim funds with the general charity funds, v'chilaktim la'aniyim. Instead of giving to aniyim, those who come to me to collect money for tzedakah, to get from the public bag, by mistake I gave them from my own private bag of money. Later, when I find out about it, I realized what happened. So normally, let's say he gave $50 or $100 from his own private funds, and it was a mistake. So now what do? You go to the public bag and you take restitution. You reimburse yourself for the money that you gave away by mistake. It's 100% okay to do. But when Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, realized that, he said, never mind. Whatever happened, happened, and I will not go and reimburse myself for the mistake I did with the money from the public funds. I'm not. And that's the story he's telling now, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, to prove that once he had a challenging incident, and he overcome the challenge, and therefore he think that he deserve an admission ticket to heaven, to Olam Haba. And thinking of the former to be the latter, I distributed the Purim funds to the poor for their unrestricted use. Even after I realized my mistake, I never sought restitution from the general charity fund. Amar lo, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma on his deathbed hears that, he says, Amar lo, thereupon, he said to him, Xanina, Rabbi Chanina, Im ken mechelkecha yehi chelki, if that is so, let my portion in Torah be from your portion, umigoralcha yehi gorali, and let my lot in good deeds be from your lot. You heard that? This is mind-boggling. Here is a man on his deathbed, one foot in the other world, and he's preaching to his friend who's teaching Torah in public with a Sefer Torah rests in his arms. This who preach? Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, who millions of dollars will not convince him to move over to another city, even to teach Torah over there. He only wants to live in a place of Torah. And he will not make a move even for millions. He now, when he hears that his friend overcame a challenge incident, it's a challenge, but what are we talking about? $30, $40, $50, $100, how much can he have already for his Seudat Purim? When he hears that this friend, Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, who a few minutes ago he told him, I wonder if you will not get burnt, you and the Sefer Torah together, for what you are doing against the Roman regime. He tells him now, wow, you actually overcame such challenge, financial challenge of $50 or whatever. I want to be with you in the world to come. Mechelkecha yehi chelki. I want my lot to be in your lot. And I want my portion to be within your portion in Torah study. How? How is it possible, and how does it make sense? Let's continue. As we said, he was sick on his deathbed. Amru lo hayu yamim muatim. Few days passed by. It was not even a few days later that Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma passed away. והלכו כל גדולי רומי לקברו. And all the great men of Rome went to bury him. He got an honorary presidential funeral. The Roman regime, who oppress and cause so much pain, they knew how to appreciate people who didn't go against them. Now, we're not suggesting by any way, shape, or form, God forbid, that Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma was for them, but nevertheless, he did not, as others did, like Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, who were openly against them, he did not poke their eye, for a lack of a better term. He did not do it dafka in their face, and he gave them their due respect because they are in power. So the Romans know how to respect such people. And when he passed away, the entire Senate and the Congress of Rome, everybody came to his funeral. He got a presidential funeral. והספידו הספד גדול, and they mourned him with a great funeral. When this funeral was over, they were returning back into the city. ובחזרתן מצאו לרבי חנינא בן תרדיון, and upon their return from the funeral, they encountered Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, שהיה יושב ועוסק בתורה, who was sitting engaged in Torah study, and מקיל קהילות ברבים, and convening gathering in public for its dissemination. וספר תורה מונח לו בחיקו, business as usual. Maybe I assume he also went to the levaya, he also joined the funeral, but he came back and went to do what he's doing best, spreading words of Torah all over. And the more gathering, the better. You're not allowed to, you're risking your life. Min hashamayim yirachemu. From heaven they will have mercy upon me. When they saw that, וספר תורה מונח לו בחיקו, and the Torah scroll was resting in his arms, all in open violation of their gzerot, in their decrees. הביאו, now he is where the same Roman people who minutes ago, maybe a couple of hours ago, have come out of their way to respect a Jewish rabbi and to give him his last respect. And they went out of the way to make it, glamorous and with all the beauty possible, have become now, as you'll see in a minute, extremely creative in being what you call a monster, a mifletzet, in their achzariyut, in their being ruthless, viciousness, and what they decide, and more than that, how they did it to Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. הביאו וקרחו בספר תורה. They therefore brought him, Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, wrapped him in his own Torah scroll, והקיפו בחבילי זמורות, encircled him with bundles of vine shoots, והציתו בהן את האור, and they set them on fire, literally burning them alive. That's not enough for them. The sadistic ministers who just returned from the funeral of Rabbi Yosef ben Kisma will not enjoy anything less than absolute pain to a Jewish rabbi like Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, who openly challenged them and did teach Torah study in public. They will go the extra mile to make his pain horrific. והביאו ספוגין של צמר, the Romans. Then they brought tufts of wool. ושרעום במים, they soaked them in water. והניחום על ליבו, and they placed them over the Rabbi Chanina's heart. Why? כדי שלא תצא נשמתו מהירה, so that his soul would not depart the body quickly. The longer, the better for them. Their sadistic, cruel mind would be not satisfied and not happy in anything less than seeing him dying slowly in a horrific, despicable pain. Nothing less. It doesn't take much to even remember some people in this generation who witnessed this thing. Different name, different language, but just 70 years ago, where people have taken all their artistic, creative senses and harnessed them into causing a tremendous pain and to cause other human beings to suffer terribly. And the more the better, and the more the victim suffered, the more they derive enjoyment from it. So Rabbi Chanina is sitting there, or standing. He's encircled with what? Shoots. Shoots is tzomeach, vegetation. I'm sorry, shoots is actually tzemer. Tzemer, it comes from the chai, from the animals. I'm sorry, my mistake. They encircle them with the shoots over there, which is tzomeach, which is vegetation. Now we say it correctly. They took the cotton, these cotton balls that they have soaked in water. The cotton comes from where? From the sheep, which is the chai, the animal. They soaked it in water, which is a domem, the inanimate. So we have all these domem, tzomeach, chai, all being gathered together to cause pain and terrible suffering by the hands of the Romans. To who? To the medaber, to Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. And basically what they say, now Rabbi, as we have enveloped you and we wrapped this Sefer Torah of yours around you, now let's see how is this going to save you from the nature that we so glorify and so admire, and we really idol nature the way it is. Let's see how the inanimate and the vegetation and the animal, all of them together, who's going to win? Burning you, the medaber, the speaker, and let's see if your Torah is going to protect you. In order to really understand what is going on here, we have to actually try to understand what is exactly happening here. Around Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, when it happened, you have to understand, this wasn't done in a isolated cellar somewhere. This was done in a town square, with all those ministers sitting at the bleachers, enjoying the view, rubbing their hands together in enjoyment, seeing the pain of the Jewish rabbi. And moreover than that, they made his daughter Bruria, the wife of Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes, and his Talmidim, which quite possible that Meir Baal HaNes was one of them, stand over there and witness this horrific death. Around him, there were 3 circles. We're taking a pause for a minute from the story. We will return back to it soon. But right now, we will try to understand what's going on over there around him. The closest circle, there'll be 3 circles. Bruria, his daughter. Right behind the Talmidim. And in the third one, an individual that you will see soon, who's playing a dramatic role in this horrible scenery that unfolds just before our eyes over here. Amra lo bito, Bruria, his daughter, asked him the following. When she saw what they do to him, Amra lo Abba, father, daddy, Eracha bechach, must I see you in such state? What kind of question is that? Is it bichlal a time for questions? What are you asking? Why don't you say your goodbye? What kind of question is that? Basically, what she asks him is the following. Abba, dear father, for years I've seen you going to give shiurim, gather people in public areas, in synagogues, batei midrash, and you teach Torah, and constantly the Sefer Torah is with you. I understand and I've come to terms with the fact that these ruthless people cannot stand what you do, and therefore they want to kill you. That I can somehow understand, because you are going against everything they believe and what they present. Because through you, Daddy, you are presenting and displaying godliness in this world, which is very much a poke in the eye to them. But what I don't understand is why they do it in such painful way. Sorry if I'm getting graphic. What is this that they want from your finger, from your fingernails? What is this what they want from your ears, from your various limbs? Why they burn you so slow? What this achzariyut, unspeakable viciousness, this monstrosity has to do with what you do, with what you have done and with what you present in this world. How these two walk hand in hand. Bruria, his daughter, is asking, Daddy, why? Why they have to be so vicious to you? Eracha bechach? Do I have to see you in such state? Amar la, he answered her, Ilmale ani nisrafti levadi. If I alone were being burned, haya davar kashe li. It would be a difficult thing for me. עכשיו שאני נשרף, וספר תורה עימי, however now that I am being burnt, and the Torah scroll is with me, getting burnt too, מי שמבקש עלבונה של ספר תורה, he who will seek retribution for this insult of the Sefer Torah, הוא יבקש עלבוני. He will also seek retribution also for my insult. What did she ask? And what did he answer? She asked, Tati, why do they have to be so vicious and malicious and so achzariyim to you? Why do they have to do it? He answers her, Meila, if I would get burnt all alone, I would have a sour taste. Now that I die in this fire and the Sefer Torah is with me, whoever is asking and seek retribution for the insult of the Sefer Torah that I'm wrapped around with, he will seek retribution also for my insult. As we said earlier, there are three circles. This is his daughter in the first. The second one is his Talmidim. I know I've posed a question to you. What did she ask and what did he answer? Soon we will answer everything together. So the second circle is his Talmidim. His disciples are standing by, seeing Rbbbi getting burnt alive. Amru lo Talmidav, as the fire raged, they said to him, his disciples, Rbbbi, ma ata roeh? Master, what do you see? Which is also what kind of question is that? What do I see? What am I supposed to see? He's seeing death coming. The Maharsha explains over here that they saw that he sees Malachim. They saw that he's seeing something. And they asked him, Rbbbi, ma ata roeh? You can imagine that a person being set and is already burning alive, minutes before his death, he's in horrific pain. He's basically not here anymore, he's there. He sees things that we, regular human beings, cannot see. And they see, they notice, and they say, Rbbbi, ma ata roeh? Imagine also his ability to tolerate the pain. He's having a dialogue with his daughter Bruria. He's having a dialogue with his תלמידים. אמרו לו תלמידיו, רבי, מה אתה רואה? What do you see? אמר להם, he answered them, גבילין נשרפין ואותיות פורחות. The blank parchment is burning and the letters are taking flight. Remember these words. גבילין נשרפין. The parchment, the Sefer Torah which I am encircled with, wrapped with, is getting burned. But I can see the otiyot, the letters scribbled into the Sefer Torah, taking flight. They fly up in the air. This is what I see, says to them Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion to his Talmidim on his last moment as he is about to return his soul to his Maker. The dialogue continues. Afata, they say to him, the Talmidim says to Rbbbi, to Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, Afata ptach picha v'tikanes bcha ha'esh. The disciples urge them, you too, open up your mouth and let the fire enter you. So you will minimize your suffering. We understand already that you're going to die, but let's do it fast and less pain possible. Amar lahem, he said to them, Mutav shitlena mishenetana. It is better that he who gave the soul should take it from me. V'al yechabel hu ba'atzmo, and that a person not inflict harm on himself. The fire is raged. He's being consumed fast and slow. Fast on his bottom part because of all the shoots around him, and slow because of the soaked water, cotton, being placed on his heart. And he's having a last dialogue with his Talmidim. And they urge him to die faster to minimize his pain. And he tells them, it is better that God, who gave the neshama to me, he should take it when he sees it fit, and I shall not do anything, even a minor thing, to make that thing happen faster. A tremendous message is in here. He tells his children, these Talmidim are the children, Banai, my children, my Talmidim. Every second in this world, since I remember myself, my job here is to leofia elokut ba'olam, to display and to spread godliness in this world. That's all I have done ever since I remember myself. It is my job, alei adamot. It is my tafkid, it is my destiny here on this planet to spread Torah all over. How can I, he says to his Talmidim, despite the horrific pain and terrible suffering, how can I do something that will cause my neshama to depart a second prematurely? In other words, if God think that I, through my suffering here, 30 seconds more, 40 seconds more, or 1 minute more, I'm still fulfilling my purpose in the world by displaying godliness, who am I to try and call it quit and make it any shorter, even if we're talking just a few seconds, to avoid a terrible pain? It is just hard to grasp such gedulah, such piousness, tzadikut, righteousness. A man is being tested in a most stressful time. I cannot think or imagine a more stressful time than this. And this is his answer to his daughter, The one who seek retribution for the Sefer Torah will seek retribution for my insult. And to his Talmidim he says, I cannot do anything to make this thing faster. I'm still displaying godliness in the world. אני עדיין מופיע אלוקות בעולם. I cannot speed up the process or cut it short. This was the second circle, his Talmidim. The third one, we will return now to the story in the Gemara. There was an executioner there who was in charge of taking the burning material, make sure he suffers, and the more the better, and making sure to see it through that he will die, fully die, but not before he goes through a terrible pain. What a job. You can imagine, I have no other name. We will see his title in a minute, but a name, I don't have another name for him but a Nazi. אמר לו קלצתנורי, קלצתונרי. It's a very unusual word. As the fire continued to rage, the official Roman executioner said to Rabbi Chanina, he was there. He heard the conversation between the father and the daughter, between Rabbi Chanina and Bruria. He heard the conversation between Rabbi Chanina and his disciples, and something touched him. He says to him the following, Rebbe, אם אני מרבה בשלהבת, my master, if I increase the flame, ונוטל ספוגין של צמר מעל לבך, and I remove the tufts of wool from over your heart, in order to minimize your pain so you can get burned faster and die quicker, אתה מביאני לחיי העולם הבא? Will you bring me with you to the life of the world to come? You heard right. The Nazi executioner, whose life job, his destiny in the world, is to cause pain and agony to other creatures, this is what he's here for. A monster, a beast. He's asking, Rebbe, my master, if I will make you die faster, so you don't suffer as much, will you take me with you to the world to come? Pooh. No more, no less. He wants Olam Haba, and not only Olam Haba, he wants Olam Haba of Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. He wants Olam Haba of a Tanah, not of just Joe Schmo. He wants Olam Haba of Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. Amar lo Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, in this terrible pain, Amar lo hen, yes, I will take you with me to Olam Haba. Being who he is, Amar lo hishavali, I need you to swear to me. The executioner said to him, swear to me that you will. And Rabbi Chanina swore to him. All this happened when the fire is raged. He's probably by now mostly consumed with fire. Miyad irba beshalhevet, immediately the executioner increased the flame. Natal sfogim shel tzemer me'al libo, and he removed the tufts of wool from over Rabbi Chanina's heart. Yatz'a nishmato bimheira, and quickly Rabbi Chanina's soul departed the body quickly. What did the executioner do? Af hu kafatz v'nafal letoch ha'ur. Then also the executioner jumped and fell into the fire that he himself set for Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. Yetz'a bat kol ve'amra, whereupon a heavenly voice issued forth and proclaimed, Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, uklatstonorei mezumanin hen lechaye olam haba. Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion and his executioner have now been readied for the life of the world to come. What a story. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, when he heard that, when he heard what happened, Bacha Rbbbi ve'amar, he wept, he cried and he said, Yesh koneh olamo b'sha'a achat. There is one who acquires his place in the world to come in a single moment, as the Roman executioner just did. V'yesh koneh olamo b'chama shanim. And there is another who acquires his place in the world to come only through several years of spiritual striving or suffering. It's not the place to talk about it now, maybe another time in another shiur. Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi have suffered 13 years of terrible physical pain in his teeth, and also he had what we believe today be called a Crohn's disease, but a terrible two illnesses that accompanied him for 7 years and then for 6 years, whatever, but for 13 years he suffered terribly. Now that we have finished this story in the Gemara, let's try and understand what's going on in here. What is going on and what are we doing here? The first circle we explained was Bruria, his daughter. And she said, Daddy, why is it that I have to see you suffering such pain? What such a horrific pain has to do with what they want to inflict upon you has to do with what you present. Why do you have to go through it? His answer was, the one who will seek retribution for the Sefer Torah will seek retribution for me. What is Sefer Torah? How do we make Sefer Torah? Sefer Torah is made from a skin of an animal, a cow mostly. It has to be behema gasa, a big beast. And they work and they process the skin again and again and again and again in many, many various stages of processing until the skin turns to be thin, flexible, unsmelly. Let's not forget, this is a living matter who died. Supposedly, naturally, it's supposed to decay with a terrible, repulsive odor. But through working and processing and doing the right thing, you can take this lowest thing. By the way, Chazal called bursiki. Bursiki is a profession of a person who, this is what he does. He skin animals and he processes their fur, their skin, whatever it is. It's a very unpleasant job. It is involved with working with very harmful chemicals in order to preserve the skin from decaying and stink. It is a very dirty job and generally considered to be a very low profession, humiliating one. But nevertheless, let's think for a minute. A bursiki, he is able to take something which is so low, unpleasant, repulsive, and turn it into something delicate, gentle, and holy. After processing the leather, the skin, comes the scribe, the sofer, the scriber, and he inscribed with ink. He placed the letters of the Torah, the name of Hashem, Yud, K, Vav, K, onto the parchment. At that moment, it gets the kedusha, the holiness of Sefer Torah. Before you had ink, which has to be made, of course, Leshem Sefer Torah. You have parchment, and the cloth also has to be made for Sefer Torah. You can't buy cloth that was made for something else and decide to do it for Sefer Torah. But nevertheless, cloth, empty cloth, has no kedusha yet. There's no significance or holiness to it. Same for the ink. When they emerge together by the hand of the scribe, who writes it with holiness and places the holy name onto the parchment, it becomes the most holy thing, a Sefer Torah, the most holy thing for the Jewish nation. The very same thing that kept us as a nation from the second we got it in Sinai. Says Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion to his daughter, to answer you, Bruria, the one who seeks retribution for this thing that present godliness in the world, the Sefer Torah, the epitome of godliness, Sefer Torah. If he falls on the floor in a shul, whoever witnessed that have to fast. The same one who seeks retribution for the insult and humiliation of this Sefer Torah that I have been enveloped with right now by the wicked executioner, he will seek retribution for me too, which I all my life have made sure to take things and through them display godliness in the world. Remember the story about the money of Purim? Through my behavior, what was Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma so mesmerized and mind-boggling to him that he did not, take reimbursement from the charity fund over there? That he said, I want to be from you. He is a guy who refused a tremendous offer of millions in order just to stay in a place of Torah. Here's the main punchline of this shiur. The ability to take something. Everyone has ta'avat mamon, the ta'ava, the inclination to amass money, properties, possessions. From the second we're born, we're busy collecting, amass, gathering more and more. To overcome, to flip over such ta'ava, such desire, and not to take it, that is turning something animalistic into something spiritual. My dear daughter Bruria says to her, Rabbi Chanina, what they hate in me is not the spread of Torah, that too, but the fact that I display through what I do and the way I live, the ability to transform animalistic things, tangible things into spirituality. This is what drives them mad. And for that they punishing me in such a cruel way. Abba iracha bechach? He says, yeah. He who will take care of the elbon of the Sefer Torah, that this was once a skin of an animal, smelly, unpleasant, dirty, full of whatever the animal produces. And it turned to be the most clean, delicate, holy thing. The same one who will take retribution for this will take retribution for me, because I, through my life, display the same thing. And now to the second circles. The Talmidim are asking, Rebbe, מה אתה רואה? What are you seeing? They saw that he's seeing something. What I see, Talmidim, Gvilin nisrafin. I see the parchments actually being consumed in fire, because it's a matter. And the temperature of the fire is greater than the matter. So it's being consumed and eventually turned into ash. Otiyot, what have placed the holiness into the Torah, what have made this previously dirty parchment skin into a delicate, gentle, holy parchment, the otiyot, the letters, being placed by a holy scriber, they don't get burned, Talmidim, my disciples. Hem lo olot ba'esh. Those letters are taking flight. They go back to Hashem. Otiyot porchot. They fly, flocking their wings. But it goes much deeper than that. Porchot is not only porchot ba'avir taking flight, but rather porchot milashon prachim, flowers. They blossom. They prosper. You, my Talmidim, are the prachim. I might be getting burned. The parchment, the physical parchment getting burned. What I've taught you, the otiyot, the letters of Torah, the prachim, the beautiful colors and the various shades of Torah that I've taught you are like a beautiful, beautiful botanical garden. Poreach, blossom and flourish. That they cannot burn. Gvilin nisrafin. Otiyot, porchot ba'avir. They will continue to flourish and to blossom forever and ever, no matter what they're going to do to us. This was the second circle, the Talmidim. And now to the third one. This Roman executioner, who is called over here calcetunere. It is obviously either a Roman or Aramaic word. But nevertheless, as we said before, I don't have another name for him, but a vicious Nazi. This is a man that he wakes up in the morning, and when his kids ask him, Daddy, where are you going to work? He says, I'm going to kill and make people suffer pain and agony. What a job. He also witnessed what's going on between the father and the daughter and the Rebbe and the Talmidim. And he got touched. And he realized that this man, sitting in the middle of this fire, the bottom of his body is already consumed in fire. You can't imagine more painful death than that. And he's able to converse and explain his daughter what's his destiny and job in this world. And that the one who's responsible for the insult of the Sefer Torah will take the retribution for his death too. And he explained the Talmidim too, that maybe the parchments are getting burnt, but the letters are flying flowers. He noticed that this man, he's not a regular man. He too, this monster walking on two, understands and grasps that this man has the ability of, not only this man, but the man and who he presents, the Jewish nation, has the ability to transform things from the lowest of the low to the highest of the high. We explained this also in the Shiur of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. When you take the food that nourish from the inanimate, the vegetation, and the animal that ate the vegetation, and the human being, the medaber, who eats the animal, who ate the vegetation who nourished from the inanimate, the entire Bria sings one song of praise to the Holy One. He understood this garbage of a man, that this man holds the key to everything in this world and in the world to come as well. He actually, for the first time, probably understood that there is a world to come. It's not only here. There's something there behind, waiting. And you will be paying for what you did. And he comes and he asks Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion the following. Listen to this. Rebbe, if I will make you suffer a little less, and I'm not accustomed to it, because my nature, and they didn't choose me by coincidence to do this job. I was a sadistic beast from the day I remember myself. I enjoy seeing people in pain. I derive enjoyment from agony and suffering of others. For me, says the executioner, to go against my nature, my beastly nature, and make you suffer a minute less is a tremendous sacrifice on my part. If I do it, if I turn myself over to that degree, can you actually overflip me and bring me to חיי העולם הבא? And not סתם עולם הבא. I want your חיי העולם הבא. No less. I want the עולם הבא of you, Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. And Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion says to him, yes. You can imagine that the worst nightmare of a Tana, of any human, but even, of course, 1,000,000 times more, Tana and someone like Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, to come hand in hand into the gates of heaven with this beast happened to walk on too, with a Nazi executioner whose entire life was one long sadistic journey. But he tells them, yes, I can bring you and I will swear to it, and you can take it to the bank. If Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion swore to him, he did. He did end up in חיי העולם הבא. As we saw, the heavenly voice emerged and said, Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion and his executioner are ready for חיי העולם הבא. We're repeating the same principle, which is the main shaft of this shiur. The ability to transform, to flip over, and turn something bad into something good. Turn something repulsive into something pleasant. Turn something megusham and tangible to something spiritual. Taking something gashmi and turn into spirituality. And he promised him, yes, you can come with me to the world to come. And he took him. Rebbe, when he heard that, says, Yesh koneh olamo b'shachat. Look at this guy. His entire life is full of, he's basically bathing in blood. All his life, a sadistic creature, killing people. In 1 second that he saw the right investment, he made his move and he made it to the world to come. And not stam olam haba of Rabbi Chanina's olam haba, not less. Kaltsitinere. It's a very unusual name. It's not a name, it's actually a description of his job. But what grabs the ear right away is the last portion of this word. Neirei. Ner. A fire. Flame. No wonder this guy was in charge of setting up fires and burning people. But when you think about Neirei, comes to the mind in a free association, Niron Keisar. Niron Keisar was sent over to destroy Yerushalayim, to destroy the second temple. And when he came to Yerushalayim, he was let known that true, he was sent, he is the stick which God wants to use in order to rebuke and retribute his children, the Jewish people, for what they have done or for what they have not did. But when he heard that, he was also told that once you will finish what you were sent to do, don't think that you're going to come clean out of it. God will seek retribution from you too. So the stick will hit, but the stick will get burnt later. The stick will be punished as well. He said, if that's the case, I don't want to. And he converted into Judaism. He became a Ger Tzedek, and Chazal tells us that later on came from him Rabbi Meir Baal HaNes. The same Rabbi Meir, who the Gemara teaches us that he's married to Bruria, his wife, the daughter of Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, the topic of today's Shiur, and in his neighborhood, he has a few bandits, a few guys, what you call bad news guys, who constantly harass him, bothered him, and one day he davens to Hashem that they should die. He can't take it anymore. His wife, Bruria, hears his davening, and she said to him, my dear husband, Rabbi Meir, doesn't it say in the Pasuk, Yitamu chataim min haaretz, the sins should or shall vanish from the world, velo chotim, but not the sinners, which means we want the sins to go away, but not the sinners. We don't want them to die. We want them to do teshuvah, to return, to flip over. Are you, my husband, says Bruria to her husband Rabbi Meir, are you suffering any more than my father, Rabbi Chanina, suffered in their hands of the Romans? And if my father was able, through witnessing a change, a transformation, even a minute one, even the transformation of just minimizing a little bit the terrible suffering of the one who's getting burnt by the executioner, it was enough for him to promise the beast of a man, Olam Haba. Can't you, Rabbi Meir, forgive these people and pray to Hashem that they too should transform, lachazor b'tshuva? And they both did, and they prayed for these guys in the neighborhood who bothered them so much, and the tefillah did pierce through, and they became chozrim b'tshuva. He's another a perfect example of how a transformation is what needed in this world. רצה הקדוש ברוך הוא, and we said it in many שיעורים, התאווה הקדוש ברוך הוא להיות לו דירה יתברך בתחתוניים. He wants the bottom here to be elevated, transformed, and come up to him closer, thus changing their nature from tangible, materialistic material matter into something holy and spiritual, delicate and gentle. And now, to answer what we asked in the beginning of the Shiur, Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma on his deathbed, seeing that his friend Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion was able to work on one midah. I'm sure he did on many, but when he asked him, give me one challenging incident that with that I can tell you that you are mezuman lechayei olam haba, this is what he comes up with. Once, $50, I wanted them, I deserved them, and I was entitled to them by any mean, halachically, by the law, by whatever it is. I made a mistake, I gave away my money, I'm allowed to take back from here and reimburse myself. Deduction, as we call it today. But he didn't. He fought. He fought this natural inclination to a point that he turned himself over and felt that it's not good to take this money. He actually feels repulsion. He doesn't want it. By that, Rashi, by the way, says over there a beautiful word. It's worth to read it. Amar lo, after he told them that he did, and I exchanged the money and I did not take restitution back from the money, Amar lo mechelkecha yehi chelki. From your portion will be my portion. Says Rashi, Ho'il vehayita vatran b'mamoncha. Because you were compromised. Vatran, it's a little stretch of imagination, but think about it. Levater means to give in, to compromise, to take less than everything. You're not going to get 100% of what you want. You might not going to get any. You might going to get 50%, maybe 70%. But you will settle down for less than what you originally wanted. You write it, levater, vav, vav, taf, reish, nun, vatran. It's almost like levater. When you write, levater, like in Brit Bein HaBetarim, the covenant that Hashem did with Avraham Avinu. Levater, that you write with bet. Levater, lamed, bet, taf, reish. To cut in half. You're not going to get the whole thing. It is two different things, and if you understand Hebrew, we are talking about two different things. But at least they sound the same. The sound is very similar. Levater, vatran. By transforming one midah, even a midah of achzariyut, the enjoyment of seeing someone suffer, changing that and working against this natural inclination that this beast of a man had, the gates of heaven opened up. And not only the gates of heaven, but the gates of heaven of Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion. With the most simple things sometimes, we, people, can take and buy our world to come sometimes in a second. We want to say something to somebody, a juicy harassment, a very fatty slander, lashon hara. Hold on back. Hold back. Withhold. Withdraw. It is a tremendous light in heaven. You are not only overcoming something, but you are transforming yourself from something very materialistic. A portion of you just became much more spiritual. Don't let this opportunity go by unused. Use it. Now, if all this thing, the story of the money of tzedakah and the public money would remain just as a story, as a declaration, it would be nice, but it doesn't mean much. It would be a spiritual declaration. But when it's an action, and you were going to take the money from the bag, but you have stopped yourself because you didn't let the ta'avat mamon, the inclination of amassing and gathering, break you, but instead you broke that. That already calls for mechelkecha yehi chelki umigoralcha yeh gorali. From your portion, I want my portion to be, says Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, and from your lot, I want my lot to be, says Rabbi Yosef ben Kisma, the very same one who turned offer of millions of dollars and gems and diamonds to come and teach Torah. Rabbi Chanina constantly sitting with Sefer Torah. The only one who has the mitzvah to do it is actually the Melech, the king himself. It's the last mitzvah in the Torah to write Sefer Torah. והייתה איתו כל ימי חייו. Wherever he's going, the king, he always have a Sefer Torah resting in his arms. Why? Because he's a king. And Rabbi Chanina does this thing because he's a king too. How? How is he a king? A king, he's not working or subservient to anyone else but to the one above. אין לך בן חורין אלא מי שעוסק בתורה. The only one who's truly experienced freedom, and is a true free spirit and a free man, is the one who is no subservient to none whatsoever, not to his boss and not to his manager, not to somebody who has a couple of dollars more than him, not to his mortgage broker or whatever it is, but rather he has the obedience of all Malchut Shamayim only the yoke of the heavenly kingdom. That's a true Melech. Rabbi Chanina Ben Tradion, who is able to transform himself and put his inclination aside and break them away, has nothing above him but all Malchut Shamayim. And when you have only Malchut Shamayim, you are a king. And a king is supposed to be with a Sefer Torah resting in his arms at all times. And with that, now you understand the Hu Haya Omer, the man who through Torah study, the man who through Torah study in public, the man who is through Torah study in public with a Sefer Torah resting in his arms, ended his life wrapped around, enveloped with his own Sefer Torah that was with him all his life, displaying every day of his life how you take something Gashmi and turn it over to Ruchaniyut, to spirituality. This is the very same man who can come and tell you, and now we should read it quickly again. In פרק שלישי, שניים שיושבים ואין, דברי רבי חנינא בן תרדיון אומר, שניים שיושבים ואין ביניהם דברי תורה, הרי זה מושב ליצים. Because if you sit and you're busy with jokes or politics, or you hold yourself from exchanging words of Torah with your friend, you are eliminating and you're preventing and stopping and withholding back the hofa'ah, the displaying of godliness in this world. You are missing the point of why you're here. שנאמר במושב ליצים לא ישב. And in the gathering of scoffers, he's not sitting. God doesn't want to be with them. אבל שניים שיושבים ויש ביניהם דברי תורה, and you're fulfilling the purpose, שכינה שרויה ביניהם. God himself comes to rest between these two. שנאמר, אז נדברו יראי השם איש אל רעהו, ויקשב השם וישמע, ויכתב ספר זיכרון לפניו, ליראי השם ולחושבי שמו. אין לי אלא שניים, מניין אפילו אחד שיושב ועוסק בתורה, שהקדוש ברוך הוא קובע לו שכר, שנאמר, ישב בדד וידום, כי נטל עליו. This שיעור about לימוד תורה, and about breaking the nature and being ותרן בממונו, is לזכות in the merit of both of my wonderful sons, Yonatan ben Chai Mordechai and Yosef Shmuel ben Chai Mordechai, Yoni, better known also as Yoni Z, the singer, and my other son, Yosef Shmuel, who's also a wonderful, wonderful boy, and they constantly display the ability to work on their midot. I'm very proud of you. Thank you very much for listening.